What is up, you guys? Welcome back to my channel, and if you're new here, just welcome. My name is Gemma Jade, but today we are going to be discussing my new series, Encounters with Fairytale Creatures, Part 1, Unicorns. So I've been wanting to do a series for a really long time on people who claim to have encountered fairytale creatures because, believe it or not, I come across so many throughout all of my research, and it always fascinates me, as does most things I come across randomly while researching other things, right? I found some people who feel as though they've had actual encounters with the mythical creature, the unicorn, and I thought you guys would find it really interesting. I would like to make Encounters with Fairytale Creatures a sort of series, like I said, so let me know in the comments if that's something you would be interested in hearing about. Some of these accounts seem to suggest, at least in my eyes, that these creatures may be on the verge of extinction rather than complete fiction. Unicorns, though not always, are often described as beautiful and sometimes even glowing white, majestic horses who have a gorgeous and flowing mane of hair. The sightings wouldn't be complete without the infamous horn in the middle of their heads. It isn't always a horse, though, and they're sometimes described and depicted as a one-horned deer, goat, or even donkey. For millennia, reports have come in, albeit sporadically, of humans who have had encounters with these wondrous and beautiful beasts. Whichever form they are seen in, the sightings come from all cultures and all countries, everywhere in the world. One-horned creatures such as unicorns have been sighted and reported since at least the era of early Mesopotamia, which is 5000 to 3500 BC, and even to this day in Scotland, the unicorn is the designated national animal. I love that. Did you know that unicorns are mentioned numerous times, not only in the Bible, but in many other sacred texts and books as well? Unicorns are always said to be magical, and there's nothing usual or common about them, which is why they are so often cited in such obscure places. I personally believe they come from one of the realms of the Fae and are perhaps themselves some sort of Fae creature. While most cultures and individuals, myself included, see them as a sign of good luck or an omen of love, even perhaps a fae visit or visit with angels themselves, others see them as a bad omen and a harbinger of death, doom, and or destruction. There are so many fables, myths, and legends of unicorns that most people don't look beyond that and simply accept that that is all they are. They believe they cannot possibly exist outside of children's books and folklore, except in, perhaps, our own overactive imagination. They think they're akin to things like giant beanstalks and magic beans, wicked stepmothers, dancing mice, and fairy godmothers, which I might add, shame on you if you don't believe by now in this particular fae. Of course, I'm kidding, guys, and to each his own. Before I bring you the encounters, I first want to talk to you just a little bit about what makes a unicorn so magical and special to begin with, and that's their horn, or alicorn. So in Europe in the 15th century, people would come across what they alleged were unicorn horns, and it's said to have been a much sought after and extremely popular item for sale and collection right up until about the 18th century, give or take a couple hundred years or so. The horn was said to come in powdered form and was said to be able to cure all sorts of ailments and illnesses. Its beneficial effects were believed to be above all other methods, and that's why they were worth so much more than their weight in gold, and quite literally too. They were also said to be the antidote for any and all kinds of poisons and diseases. Pope John III and King James I, both who are from England, are said to have paid exorbitant amounts for whole unicorn horns. Though they've since been lost to history, and even if they had existed, many skeptics say that most likely they were the horns of the one-horned narwhal. Unicorn hair or fur, tears, and even their blood were said to have been worth about as much as the horns and had the same healing and medicinal benefits and more. These three were even said to be an aphrodisiac, which made them even more sought after and expensive than the alicorns themselves sometimes. Unicorn skeletons and bones were often reported as being found in the depths of the wilderness areas wherever the person who came upon them happened to be roaming or traveling at the time. So I want to ask you all this. Do you think that perhaps the amount of money, especially back in these ancient, desperate, and destitute times, that pretty much the entire unicorn and all of its beauty and wonder, and even in small pieces, fetched the people who saw and sold them, could possibly be the reason for their extinction? Like, just hear me out. Like, maybe they were so abundant that you can just go and, like, kill a unicorn for its horn and sell it off, or find a unicorn corpse laying somewhere. We would never know that. We would never know if these things actually existed, because they've become, somehow, if they did, the stuff of myths and legends. Perhaps they were never the thing of myth and legends and fairy tales at all, but simply were hard to come by and therefore were at some point killed off, making them a legend and myth to us instead of an extinct and once very real animal. Let me know in the comments below what you think about that and the rest of our encounters in this video. So here it is, guys. Encounters with fairy tale creatures, part 1, unicorns. Let's jump right in. One of the earliest accounts of unicorn sightings is also said to be one of the most credible, at least for the time that the sighting took place, and it comes from ancient Greece. A doctor named Tisias in the 4th century BC would write about his travels through Persia, and he often wrote of encountering unicorns throughout his time in those travels. He described the creature as an animal akin to a beast of burden, an ass in his words, which was wild and had bright blue eyes, a sparkling white body, and a red head. It was as large as a horse with a multicolored horn sprouting out from the middle of its head, which measured about 1.5 feet in length. Guys, let me stop here for a second and tell you that I didn't put it together that it said it's the size of a horse, and I thought it was saying the whole horse was that small, but the alicorn was 1.5 feet in length. That, to me, it makes me think, because if the unicorn is the size of a regular horse, the alicorn would be like massive on its head, right? And that wouldn't be at all what we think of as far as how unicorns look. They have this little alicorn. And so I don't know. I thought that was interesting. So like I said here, the alicorn itself was so big. So imagine how gigantic the unicorn itself would have to be if this were true. I always understood them to be about 3 times as large as an average horse, but there's not much in this report, at least, about it being very large in size. And I thought that would be something that would definitely be stated or stand out. So the size of a regular horse makes me wonder. The animals Tisias wrote about were fast and strong and could easily outrun any average horse. The way he wrote about the encounters with the unicorns was fairly simple, and that he was simply seeing some sort of yet unidentified animal in the wilderness. There was nothing said, at least at this point in time, about it being magical or otherworldly. It was simply looked at as a rare animal which most didn't get to ever see, but which hadn't yet been named by those who had seen it. In around the 3rd century BC, the Greek historian Herodotus also wrote about the horned ass he saw many times during his travels through Africa. Other world travelers of the time, like Marco Polo and Pliny the Elder, wrote in their trip logs and journals of encounters with unicorns. Marco Polo referred to them throughout his writings as, quote, ugly brutes, end quote. Other notable people of this era who claim to have encountered what we now call unicorns are Julius Caesar, Genghis Khan, and the legendary Chinese philosopher Confucius, just to name a few. Many skeptics and even some historians believe that the writings were about other animals who were simply being misidentified by all who saw them. The only other one-horned animal I know of at that time, and I definitely could be wrong here, guys, so correct me politely if I am, was the rhinoceros. And how in the world could someone mistake a unicorn for a rhino? That's beyond me. There's also been claims that perhaps they were encountering 2-horned creatures which were injured in some way, like oxen, bulls, ibexes, onyxes, or goats. But again, to me, this seems highly improbable. The idea is that they were seeing these aforementioned animals, but that the animals themselves had forms of genetic mutations, and that, no doubt, coupled with some exaggerations and coloring added to the stories of the encounters throughout the ages and the years, there you have your unicorn. This simply isn't feasible to me because, let's face it, they didn't know what a unicorn was back then. Even if it was real, they hadn't named it. So why would they be coloring up mutated regular animals to make it seem as though they were having sightings of or encounters with unicorns that they didn't even know that word alone existed, or that it will one day be a mythical beast? I'll mention here, because I can already see the comments, that of course there have been known to be cases where the aforementioned 2-horned animals were born with, or by some other type of mutation or injury or whatever, had only 1 horn, of course. However, I'll say it again, do any of these animals have either of their horns directly in the middle of their heads like the unicorn's alicorn? I don't think so, but if you know any better or any different, also let me know down below. So what were they really seeing? It's impossible to know, and we more than likely won't ever find out for sure. These alleged encounters with unicorns have continued, though, and have been there throughout history and right up to our more modern day. In 1991, a renowned Australian nationalist named Antal Festetics alleged to have encountered a unicorn while filming a wildlife documentary in the Harz Mountains. He said he was out riding a horse one night when he came across something he would never forget. He stated, quote, "Suddenly a unicorn came toward me at a gallop. There was a glow of light around the animal. My horse reared and almost threw me. Then, just as quickly, it was gone." End quote. This is something that I always knew to be true, but haven't often heard of when people speak of encountering unicorns, and even something not usually mentioned in books and fables written about them. They glow, in a sense. It's like their inner light. Their magic comes out of them in this kind of ethereal light that surrounds it all the time. They can choose to turn it off, of course, so as not to be hunted and to hide from predators. But when they choose to show themselves, they glow. Maybe it's a part of the magic coming out of their realm and showing themselves to us. They don't live here on Earth, not really. And so the glowing actually makes more sense now as I sat and wrote this. So Festetics talks about this encounter all the time and even alleged that he had videotaped the majestic creature, but it never made it into the documentary, so no one really knows if this is the truth or not, that he caught it on tape. Guys, remember tape? I got it on tape. I still say that to this day. Or I'll be like, I'm videoing. Just an aside. So, speaking of photographic and video evidence, there have been many tales over the years of people alleging to have captured a unicorn either in picture or on video. In 1968, a man named Robert Vavra made the claim, quote, "My first face-to-face encounter with a unicorn took place in a Mexican jungle near Tamazunchale," and guys, I'm going to be mispronouncing, "in the spring of 1968. The one photograph that I was able to snap is reproduced on this page. This picture, as the reader can see, is so blurry and nondescript that had I attempted to publish it at the time, I would have been considered as much a crank or hoaxer as those persons who occasionally submit to the press out of focus suspect." End quote. So I guess there was a picture, but it wasn't in my source material and I couldn't find it because I was going to leave a link. But in 2014, in the Highlands of Wicks in Caithness in Scotland, an unidentified man claimed to have been out hiking near the castle of Old Wick when he came across something highly unusual. He described it as, quote, "basically a horse with a horn," end quote, which he said then just kind of meandered back into the wilderness where it came from. More accurately, it went in the direction of Loch Hempriggs, more south of the town than where he had sighted it. This sighting was major news to the locals in that area, and it launched what was called, quotes, "a unicorn safari," end quotes, where anyone interested in maybe seeing one could state their interest and go and investigate. Who knows how all of this turned out or what became of the unnamed man or his story, but it's still pretty interesting. A unicorn safari. I don't think much came of that, maybe because, like, we're not hearing or anything now. But I wonder if the unicorn is like Bigfoot in that it really can't be photographed. Like, if it doesn't want to be photographed, it's not going to be photographed. And that's a fact about Bigfoot, guys. Yes, some people have pulled off some photos, but for the most part, we know they're hoaxes, right? I mean, let's be real. In this modern day and age, which, guys, I seriously think I am only a part of by some giant cosmic mistake, as I'm sure at least some of you could understand, there seems to be no place for magic anymore, let alone the beasts and creatures that seem to be created within and by it. It seems logic and reason are more popular than ever, at least on the surface, okay? However, sightings of not only unicorns, but other mythical and fairy tale creatures are told all the time. There's a ton of skepticism, sure. That's understandable due to the lack of any physical and or tangible evidence of such encounters. For the witnesses to such things, though, I would like to think that the encounter and experience itself is enough to convince them otherwise. I am doing an entire series on encounters with mythical creatures, and this is only the beginning. It's actually called Fairy Tale Creatures, but whatevs. You gotta let a little magic into your life every now and again, guys, because only then will our eyes and minds be truly open to what's around us all the time, that which we cannot see. That's all I have for you today, guys. Please give this video a big thumbs up if you enjoyed the content, if you enjoyed hanging out with me, and if you just want to see me smile. Spread the love by sharing this video and subscribe if you haven't already. In the description box, you will find ways to donate to the channel, PayPal, Patreon, Cash App. If you don't want to or aren't able to do that and you want to send me a little gift, my Amazon wish list gift link will be in the description box as well. Please consider donating. Also, if you'd like to purchase one or both of my books, Missing the Fae Theory and Encounters with Evil, 101 True and Terrifying Stories, you will find the links to the Kindle and paperback versions of them in the description box, and they're on Amazon. If you would like a signed or autographed copy, please email me before you make the purchase. Also, email me if you would like a personal intuitive oracle reading from me. My email is GemmaJadeParanormal@gmail.com, and you can use that email for any and all correspondence with me as well. Just be patient with me getting back to you, just like with the comments, guys. I know, but life happens, and I've got a bajillion different things going on, as we all do. So thank you for your patience with that. I really do appreciate it. On Wednesday nights from 7:15 p.m. Eastern to 11:15 p.m. Eastern, or until we have no one else to read for, it's Ghost Dragon ZW and I hanging out, chilling with tribe, community, family. Come on in. Get you a 1-card pull, a weekly reading for free or donation. Donations always appreciated, guys, as that is my pay. And everyone who's been donating not only money, but gifts, time, just your friendship. It means so much to me. And I always say that. And the people that know me know I mean it. And sometimes I get crap for it by the people who don't. But it is what it is. I appreciate you guys to no end and more than words can express. So with that being said, be kind to each other, guys. It doesn't cost anything. Be kind to yourselves and never accept anything less than others being kind to you. And I'm going to tell you why. You're capable, you're beautiful, you're loved, you are perfectly imperfect and beautiful. And you can do and be anything that you want. And anyone who's not telling you these things on a regular basis, maybe they don't belong in your life. I don't know. Just a suggestion, some advice I'm taking myself, right? Always go in grace, smile at a stranger, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.